So, as you guys know, this event started 5 years ago, me sitting in the back of a family van in Taiwan. And little did I know that over the years, more and more people were listening to the daily financial news. I think it was about 18 months ago, a friend of mine, Ty, who will be up here speaking, sent me a note and says, "Hey, do you know Sean Cannell?" Nope. That was mistake one. I should have known who he was. He wrote the best book on YouTube, which, by the way, I have an autographed copy. It's one of my most treasured things, so thank you, Sean. But he was in an interview talking about this guy, one rental at a time, shooting the daily financial news, right? Just riffs it, no edits. And he was respectful, right? When you go on YouTube and it's all highly edited and, Mr. Beast is the thing, and I'm not trying to be any of that, right? I'm trying to take an hour to 90 minutes of reading and bring it to the world in 12 to 15 minutes. And Sean was just wonderful in his feedback and his comments. We grew a friendship from there. He sends me notes probably every 6 weeks or so saying, "Zuber, you still don't look at the freaking camera. Your volume's wrong sometimes. You should do the 5 things," right? He's a great coach, great mentor, and a better friend. And I asked him to be a part of this, and to say that he said yes immediately is an understatement. He actually told me privately that when we got to 50,000, he would do whatever he could to be here. This man yesterday was at his home in Seattle. He flew down to this, and he's going somewhere else tomorrow. So Sean won't be here tomorrow. He will be here today. But you are going to be treated to a great presentation. Again, you will have an opportunity to ask questions. Remember, I'm imploring you as a W-2 employee, as Gen X, as baby boomers, to think about sharing your passion or love or hobby with the world. You will not be Mr. Beast. It doesn't matter. Find your tribe. You find 500, 1,000, 2,000 folks that enjoy what you enjoy. It will never feel like work. So, Sean, I appreciate you. The audience appreciates you. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, greetings, everyone. Super grateful to be here. And Michael, congratulations on just an incredible event. So grateful that you put this together. I am an avid fan of the daily financial news. I watch every day. It is my go-to show. And just want to thank everybody for being here. I want to talk about 10 little-known reasons to start creating content and investing in your personal brand this year. 10 little-known reasons to start creating content and investing in building your personal brand this year. But before we get there, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been at the right place at the right time? Can you think of an event? Maybe it was when you met your spouse. Anybody here with your spouse? Wave at me. Were you at the right place, right time? Somebody's like, I don't know if that was the right place, right time. Nah, must keep. Maybe it was busy. You think about that deal, you call on those cold leads or whatever, and then that person is in that right moment. Like, there's just something about being in the right place at the right time. In 1973, Bill Gates, in the fall, enrolled in Harvard University. And him being there at that time, their computer science program and their computer lab gave him access to early technology that absolutely influenced his fascination and passion for software that impacted his future career. If you go back even just a few years into the 1960s, he was at a school called Lakeside in Seattle where he met somebody named Paul Allen. They were just kids, and they connected over a mutual fascination for computers and technology, which were rare and expensive at the time. 2 years after being in Harvard, dropping out, they launched Microsoft, and as of February 2024, Microsoft's market cap is $3 trillion is what it was. Right place, right time, right actions. And this is kind of top of mind before we get into the 10 points, and then would love to do Q&A and serve in whatever way possible. Makes me think about 2 big areas of right place and right time. I really believe this, that this event is the right place at the right time for you. Like, I really believe that this event is special and that there are certain moments in our lives that can absolutely be transformative. The right place at the right time. But the question is, will you take the right actions? And some of the things I've learned is that events like this have changed my life. But I want to challenge you, especially if you're a little bit introverted, to be really thoughtful about your moments together over the next few hours and tomorrow, to get out of your comfort zone and to meet somebody you don't know, to start a conversation. You have no idea who you're sitting next to. You have no idea the genius in this room, maybe the future partner in this room, maybe a future spouse in this room. Come on, I don't know. You have no idea. Right place, right time, but it's important that you take the right actions. You know, for me, as I got into video, if you don't know my story, I feel so blessed that it really was kind of a right place and right time. I actually was a little bit crazy in high school. I ended up getting expelled from Christian high school for partying so hard, from rave drugs and all this kind of stuff, and just kind of wandering, not knowing what to do next. I eventually found my way to volunteering at a small little church in a youth ministry with 7 kids. And the youth pastor handed me a video camera and Adobe Premiere video editing software, and I started editing videos. The year was 2003. YouTube hadn't started yet, but by 2007, we had started a vlog for the pastor of this church, like a reality TV show, and that's way overselling it. This thing was terrible, janky, horrible, but I was early, and I was getting into this thing called content creation, and to have started a YouTube channel in 2007 means I've been on YouTube for like 17 or 18 years. And so I didn't pick that time or that place, but I did take the right actions. I did seize the moment, and I just kept running with video and kept running with YouTube, and now today we run a company called Think Media. We do close to $10 million a year with like 30 employees, and we got 30 W-2s. We just launched healthcare this year, and I have no freaking clue what I'm doing. Like I have no idea what's happening, and it's super weird. I'm a small town kid, college dropout, and I just started on YouTube, and here we are in this thing called the creator economy. But there's, again, something about the right place at the right time and the right action. But when it comes to this idea of content creation for you, you might think 2024, you've seen that this is happening. There's so many incredible other content creators here, all the millionaires that Zuber brings on, all these different YouTube channels, Instagram. You might be thinking, well, okay, I definitely can see that this is possible, maybe even for anyone. Because if Michael can do it, come on, anybody can do it. Amen. That's said with kindness. It just means that regular, everyday people who've got a passion and want to put in the time and already get up and study the financial news for 60 to 90 minutes, and then they're like, what if I made this a show? And you're like, that's not what I do. I need you to make complex things simple, and so I'll watch your show. So you might be thinking, though, in 2024, is it too late? In 2024, how could it still possibly be the right time and right place as it pertains to content creation? My answer to that would be some recent research from Goldman Sachs research. And this is what they revealed. They said that by 2027, the creator economy could be valued at $500 billion. Now, what is the creator economy? This is that new kind of self-employed, side hustle, work from home individuals who start creating content on these different platforms and are able to generate extra income, thousands a year, hundreds of thousands a year, millions a year, and that right now the TAM, the total addressable market in the creator economy at large, is about $250 billion. So what they said is that by 2027, in the next 3 years, the total addressable market, Goldman Sachs research, is going to double. Now, here's what's crazy about that, is ever since YouTube started, I've been on the front lines of creating content, being behind the camera, starting a freelance business, interviewing all kinds of famous YouTubers, interviewing entrepreneurs and business owners using video, hundreds of interviews and conversations. I've gotten millions of subscribers, hundreds of millions of views, And I've seen all of this happen in the last 17 years, and it's been wild. I've seen thousands of regular, everyday people earn extra income, whether around their hobby of cooking or sewing or collectible cards or real estate investing or self-help books or fiction books. And whatever you could conceive, people have turned their passion into profit. And I've watched lives changed. We're now seeing our students not just get hundreds of silver play buttons. Now our students are getting gold play buttons, which is what you get when you get 1 million subscribers. Mary's Nest just got one. She started YouTube when she was 60. Her passion was modern pioneer cooking, bone broth, apple cider vinegar with the mother. Her passion is cooking as a modern pioneer in the kitchen. Starts at 60 years old. No idea how to turn a camera on. No idea how to create content, but just, in her words, I say you got to just press record. She says you got to just put the apron on. So she's now 65, 1 million subscribers, book deal with Random House for a cookbook, and she's blown away by what's happened in the creator economy. So you could imagine that when I hear Goldman Sachs research tell me that in the next 3 years, everything that's happened over the last 17 years in the creator economy is about to double, that I'm about to spit my coffee out because I'm a little bit woozy from that level of acceleration. This is significant. So if you talk about right time, right place, the question becomes, will you take the right actions? Because there's a wave to ride over the next 3 years. And for me, I keep thinking, isn't the wave going to stop? Isn't it on the decline? Isn't YouTube too saturated? But the dictionary of definition of saturation is that if YouTube continues to expand, at least for now, oversaturation is impossible because it's a growing and expanding market. At some point, it might start going down, but the next 3 years basically are going to be the best 3 years in the creator economy. So the question is, how do we capitalize? I've got 10 ideas. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm a little bit hoarse here, and look at your neighbor and just say, you look better than I remember. Just tell him that. All right. So then, what are the 10 little-known reasons to start creating content and investing in building a personal brand this year? Here's 10 ideas to say, okay, but Sean, really, is this worth the energy? Is it worth getting uncomfortable? Is it worth pressing record? Is it worth starting to create content? Here's number 1. Become a creator, not just a consumer. The first reason to start creating content is to become a creator and not just a consumer. Here's what's kind of fascinating. When you think about social media, there's been multiple studies that talk about the toxic effects. I think we're aware of that you look around among especially young women, you get into comparison and insecurity and self-doubt, and you can go to all of that stuff. All of us have probably experienced, okay, let me just scroll for a while. Let me just, see what comes my way. And you get a few dopamine hits, but by the end of that, you usually feel worse and not better. And social media consumption can come with a lot of potentially negative effects. But what's really fascinating is on the flip side, social media creation is actually one of the most positive mental health activities. If you find yourself growing weary or anxious about the future, scientific research indicates that regardless of your artistic experience or talent, that a 45-minute session of focused creative activity significantly lowers cortisol levels in your body, thus your overall stress. And so when I think about this idea of why should you start a channel, I think because most of the world are consumers. Thank God for it. We're in a consumer economy. But ultimately, when you step over that line into being a creator, so many things can change for you. And then rather just be on the receiving end, now you're on the giving end. It's better to give than receive. And you're on the contribution end. And so number 1, you could become a creator, not just a consumer. Number 2, capture your history and your legacy. YouTube is a search engine. One of the reasons I think it's so powerful to start creating content is to take what you know and to take your life experience and to take your wisdom and to start putting that online. It's kind of maybe a morbid thought, but I recently just had my 40th birthday, and we had kids a little bit later in life. I've got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. But I've thought a lot about, if I was to die right now, would I have peace? And the answer is yes. Mainly and majoritively because of my faith. But secondly, of course, I don't want to leave my wife or my kids behind. But one of the reasons I have peace is because of the portfolio of content that I've built online. I think about the thought that my sons could very well be mentored by me, understand my values, principles, vision, because of the history and legacy I've already captured online. And once I had my first boy, Sean Bradley, it made me even more convicted to articulate and capture my values, principles, and beliefs and wisdom in videos for that next generation, even if that's just for our own family. Like, we're not even talking about money or subscribers or anything. I want to encourage you, like, stepping into creating content is a good move for history and legacy. What do you wish you had from your grandfather or grandmother? Imagine if you could watch content from them where they share anything at all, let alone their wisdom, their values, their principles. Number 3 is you can grow your network. You know that your network is your net worth. In a circle like that, we'd say that. And so when you start creating content, you just start meeting people. In fact, this very right place, right time moment is because one man, Michael Zuber, had the courage to start creating content. And this network that can now lead to all kinds of serendipity is because of punching fear in the face, punching perfectionism in the face, and pressing record. Thank you, Michael. I hear people like Ed Milet talk about the power of one. You're one relationship away from your life changing. You're one business deal away from your life changing. You're one conversation away from your life changing. And so it's not about getting 1 million subscribers, but by creating content, you can start growing your network, and one relationship, one video, one upload can shift your life. And so building and growing your network is a reason to start today. Number 4 is building your personal brand. What comes up if I Google you? Well, I tried to get those police reports. I mean, there's a couple mug shots for some of you. You know, what comes up? What comes up if I Google you? You know, of the 75% U.S. adults who Google themselves, nearly half say that the results aren't positive. What happens when you Google your ex? Dude, so silent. I know half of you have Googled your ex. Come on, I know. All right, relax. So what comes up when I Google you? What do I see when I visit your Instagram, your LinkedIn? What do I see when I search for you? See, building your personal brand is a reason to start creating content. Your personal brand is your online reputation. It's the digitization of your reputation. And now we can talk about this in an entrepreneur arena, but let's talk about W-2s. Sales reps who use social media as part of their sales techniques outsell 78% of their peers. If you're in sales and you have a stronger personal brand because you committed to creating content, you will outsell 78% of your peers. Leads developed through employees' social media activities convert 7 times more frequently than other leads. So, of course, maybe there are policies you need to know from your employer, but building a personal brand in your company can lead to promotions, more influence, more impact, even the better furthering of your company's vision, being a linchpin, as Seth Godin describes, so as to get more raises and make a greater impact in your current opportunity. But what about future opportunities? Now that I've got into this arena of hiring people, what do we look at? We look at their application, but we look at their social media. We look at what do we see? What is your LinkedIn? Do they have YouTube videos? How can I get to know you online? So starting to create content and building your personal brand is a good reason to start. Number 5, accelerate trust. 74% of people say they are more likely to trust someone with an established personal brand. And as you know, trust is the currency of business. When I think about in real estate in particular, and I think about my friends Levi and Travis Plum from living in Dallas, they started doing organic YouTube videos, and they committed and went all in. And you wouldn't believe it, after posting consistent YouTube content for the first 6 months, you want to know how many transactions they got as real estate agents? 0. It was incredible. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. We'll talk later. So, first 6 months wasn't that impressive. But what happened over the next 12 months was they did nearly $90 million in transaction volume and did $2.9 million in commissions collected in the following 12 months, not from billboards, not from print, not from any other form of advertising, only organic YouTube. And all the other stuff is great, however you can get leads and do deals. But one of the things that they said was when people would call them, there was already a massive acceleration of the relationship. They'd be like, dude, it's weird to be with you on the phone, but I literally feel like I already know you. Like we've already spent 10 hours together, 20 hours together. He talked about how many DocuSigns happened never meeting people because the trust was already at a high enough level. So you committing to creating content, even with just a few people, whether or not the video even got external views, if you start answering specific questions, uploading those on YouTube, and then when you're talking one-to-one with somebody, answer their question with the video of you answering the question for 8 minutes. Now you have an asset that you can text. And so the acceleration of trust is going to affect every area: mortgage, agents, as an employer, business of any kind. Number 6, personal growth and skill building. One of the most challenging things you will ever do is commit to posting content. It will be hard. You will get uncomfortable. You will want to give up and quit. You will watch your first videos and be like, these absolutely suck. I promise you, your first videos are your worst videos. And usually video 30 is pretty bad too. And even still, you still might not be making eye contact with the camera a lot of times. After we had that conversation, I was like, did you not get my phone? We literally talked on the phone. Like the next day, Michael. I'm like, what's going on? But let it be the power of pressing record that you can still make an impact on the journey, getting 1% better with every upload. But see, the reason to start is because of the personal growth, skill building. See, it gets you uncomfortable because I know too, as we age, sometimes it's like, oh, I got to learn something new. Yeah. That's what it would take. I got to stretch and get uncomfortable. Yeah, that's what it would take. But you know what Warren Buffett said? It said that the one easy way to be worth 50% more than you are now, at least, is to hone your communication skills. You want to know how to hone your communication skills? Start creating content. At first, you might realize, wow, my communication skills aren't that good. And then it opens up a whole new world of how do I get better on camera? How do I craft the opening? How do I craft and package a video? How do I do written skills like titles and packaging of a video? How do I do all of this stuff? There's a book by Brendon Burchard. It's called The Charge: How to Activate the 10 Human Drives That Make You Feel Alive. And what's fascinating is he did this research. It was one of the biggest studies done of what are like all of the elements for us to feel fully charged, fully alive, fully passionate, fully vibrant, fully all in, pumped. And maybe you're at a place right now where you'd say, Sean, when you say all that, that's not where I'm at. I'm not fully charged. I'm not fully feeling like I'm living my maximum life. He talks about the caged life, and then he talks about the free life. So how do you do that? Well, what's interesting is when I looked at the 10 human drives that make us feel alive, at least 5 of them are activated by content creation. Competence. You feel more alive when you're learning new skills and getting better. You'll have to when it comes to content creation. Connection. You start creating content, you start meeting people, it opens doors. Challenge. This will be challenging, but we need challenge to feel fully alive. We need that next mountain to climb, that next giant to slay. Creative expression, putting yourself out there, being unique, figuring out putting the art on your wall that we see. I'm like wondering what's on Michael's shelf. You know what I mean? We got different art. What's behind him? What's the set today? Like, you're being creative with your show. It's your show. You get to you get to dress how you want, do what you want. It's creative expression. You structure it how you want, interview people how you want, whatever you want, and contribution. And I want to encourage you, there's things inside of you that the world needs. And by packaging it in content, you are making a contribution. At least 5 of the 10 human drives that make us feel alive happen by just creating content. And friends, we have not even talked about getting views or making money yet. We have gone through 6 reasons to start. That's it, number 7. We'll land the plane, get to some Q&A. Build a portfolio and a body of work, number 7. Number 8, create extra streams of income. You could get paid for your content. There's multiple ways to earn money in the creator economy. We won't cover those today. But of course, leads and prospects. For a majority of us, creating content is just that doorway to the existing business we already have or one that we may start. Number 9 is leverage tax advantages for business owners and media companies. See, I think the mindset to have, and all of y'all are smart, so I would hope, this is a business event. So, of course, I'm not a CPA. This is not financial advice, but you're writing off your hotel and 50% of your meals, I would assume, and whatever meals you're having with people. And you're thinking about the legitimate business expenses from being here. And I know entertainment's not a write-off, but, check with your CPA. Maybe it's more of like a business function of however you're doing that, You're figuring all that out. And so I hope you're already doing that. But one of the powers of starting a content creation media company, because that's the mindset that I want you to have from day one. It's not a hobby. You're starting a media company. So now when you have to fly to see one of the people you met here, right place, right time, to film a video, then that's a business trip. And your hotel, of course, and at a really sick spot with a nice pool, a nice view, like that's a write-off. And the meal that you guys have that night, biz deving, is also a write-off. So it starts getting into a world where I know this is much more niche and applicable for me, but when I think about the fact that I actually test cameras and, I had to go snowboarding, obviously, because I had to test a GoPro. And so for the snowboard trip, I'm filming on the GoPro, and I got to get some drone shots, of course. And so, of course, not only is the drone and the GoPro a write-off, but the trip is a write-off. And, I had to package all of that stuff. So really starting to think different. Back when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, it was like, even if in the cash flow quadrant, you're W-2, that's an incredibly powerful place to be. And I love Michael Zuber's message on that. But by starting the small business or tapping into the small business, even the offsetting of your W-2 income is so powerful. My CPA, Matt Bontrager, talks about how W-2s should be reducing their tax liability. Again, number 9, leverage tax advantages for business owners and media companies. And then lastly, number 10 this was kind of wild, but this is what came to me, is to fight tyranny, fight evil, misinformation, lies, and generally bad advice that's spread on social media. Thank you. You've probably heard the quote that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men and women to do nothing. And so I know that creating content sounds like a lot of work, or it sounds like who would even listen to me or who would care. But I want to encourage you to not be silent. And I want to encourage you that a lot of times it's not the best information that's even being seen or getting consumed. It's just the people that are being the loudest. And knowing the kind of people that Michael Zuber attracts, this is a room full of good people that have real wisdom and good hearts that really want to make a real difference, that believe in the power of free enterprise to see lives changed and communities changed, that believe in generosity and that there should be more good in the world and all of this. You can't be silent. And the only thing that is needed for evil to triumph maybe is if you're silent. So I want to encourage you, this might not be about getting 1 million subscribers or even 10,000, What about the hundreds of people that you could impact? See, in a YouTube world, if you had 300 subscribers, people would go, it's no big deal. But think about this room. Think about you having 300 subscribers would be you like hosting this life-changing, powerful event. And so I do really want to challenge you for the next generation in history and legacy, for all the fun opportunities that this could lead to in the personal growth and maybe even feeling more charged and more alive, but also because truth needs to win, and we have to raise our voices and fight against tyranny and fight against evil and put out good, positive, edifying content on these platforms and on YouTube. So I want to encourage you. I think punching fear in the face, punching perfectionism in the face, and pressing record is the move to make in 2024. Thank you.
I told you. So, how many of you watch the daily financial news in the morning? How many of you watch it live at 7:30 a.m. usually? So, I want you guys to do me a favor. If you're watching it at 7:30 in the morning and I'm not looking at the camera, blow me up. Yeah. Blow me up.
Eye contact with the lens.
Eye contact, yeah.
And it's hard. That's a quick tip, too, because if you go selfie side.
Oh, yeah.
Selfie side on your phone, it's invisible. It's invisible. You don't. Where's the camera? You got to learn where the camera's at. Eye contact with the lens.
Yeah, so for the next week, Sunday will be recorded, so that won't count. But starting Monday, if I'm not looking at the camera, light the comments up on fire because I will see them pop off. I want to be held accountable. So thank you for that. So I don't generally recommend books, but if you are thinking about getting started with YouTube, you've got to buy YouTube Secrets. There's a couple of folks in the room that have the book right there. We'll do some autographs, I'm sure, later. But definitely get YouTube Secrets. I've read it cover to cover a couple of times in several chapters repeatedly. So it is everything to me. But again, we've got 20, 25 minutes of Q&A. The line is already started. Go for it.
Hey, Sean. Thanks for being here. Jared Auchenbein, Private Money Lender.
Jared. Oh.
Test. Oh, there we go.
Yes, Jared, private
right.
money lender.
Yeah. Question about the media comment you made. Do you need to start an LLC in order to do that, or can you just do that?
Yeah, so, well, I mean, I'm the wrong guy to ask. There's probably some smart people in the room because I'm not a CPA, but I've studied this stuff a lot. You should track expenses. You don't want to pierce the corporate veil. So, and, you know, business card, personal card, we put it on the business card, maybe let the CPA handle it. Always, I think at some level you want to have at least annual, probably quarterly tax strategy as you elevate. So the question I like to ask my CPA is not only, is this a write-off, but how could this be a write-off? And one of the biggest aha moments for me was I thought it was all or nothing. So I thought it's either 100% business or 100% personal. And if I do anything personal on the trip, like even writing a car off, I was like, well, what if I also take the car to the grocery store? And started realizing that it needs to be ordinary and necessary. And if, should you get audited or you need to justify it, is it reasonable that the car was 80% business? It can be pretty easy to argue for that, as opposed to it was 100%. They're like, you never drove it personally to the grocery store? So you started thinking about trips that could be international, trips here or there. It's really allowing a professional, getting a good team around you. I think it's also good to fire a lot of financial professionals if, I like to be aggressive. So it's like, if I'm bringing them ideas, they're the wrong person. If I'm like, what if we did this? And they go, well, yeah, you could do that, but I don't know. I'm like, all right, bro, I need somebody else. Because I want somebody who, within the tax code ethically, is going to aggressively give me the biggest opportunities possible. So absolutely, eventually, you'd want to have the right entity. And I think in this room in general, again, there's probably 15 geniuses in here that have all kinds of S-corps and LLCs and the ways they're doing their properties and stuff. It can get pretty complex, but all of that's pretty important to maximize all your tax advantages.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've been to 3 CPAs in 1 year. So.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, keep looking until you find a good one. And come as close to the microphone as possible. Appreciate it.
Hi, Sean. Yeah, Sam Farjo. Question about the W-2 and this world we are in. So, if you're an employee and you're in one of the one of those biggest companies, and they have all the policies they can put. They have all the lawyers. So one of the policies was like, you're trying to start a business. You cannot probably, so that eliminates LLCs because they have videos and policies on that. And so so this question is like, for those in this situation, is like, how would you start something like YouTube, or like I currently have an Instagram page, Wealth with Rentals. I'd like to expand that to be, on YouTube. So, but I still don't have my face in there, and I don't have like because where the money is generated is at my W-2. So now I'm hesitant to say well, should I start the YouTube or not? And not to be a big at all, but it's like, to me, like we said, first one, like being a creator, not just a consumer, and the second one is just for me and my family first. Like I write these notes and all that on Instagram just for me, because that keeps like all the information is just recorded in my Instagram page, and it's for me first and for my brother and sisters and my family and some other people. But now, how do I like with these policies from these big companies, giant companies, that so would you be comfortable doing that? How would you go around that?
So I mean, it's kind of, you have to think through, I think, linearly. I think, okay, let's check the box. So if your company limits you from starting a personal brand or a business, what do you do? Thing one, if you want to start a YouTube channel for history and legacy for personal use, it sounds like that would be fine. I think thing two, there could be a case where maybe your thoughtfulness in how you package that could still lead to some tax advantages. Meaning, I always want to purchase a camera or anything I buy with pre-tax dollars, not after-tax dollars. Dear God, if I get taxed first, and for me, I'm going to pay 38%. I'm sorry, California. For them, they're going to pay 162%. But I'll pay 38% maximum tax. So my dollar is already chipped down, and then I'm going to buy something that's taxed multiple ways. So I have less buying power with that dollar, and then I bought a $1,000 camera, and I'm going to pay tax on it. So again, flip side is I want that camera to be a write-off. And so this idea of maybe a side media thing is something I'd keep in my mind. You still might be able to have a CPA or simple taxes yourself, itemize those things out. You actually technically don't need an LLC to take itemized write-offs. LLC is liability protection, but more than anything, you want good organization. So then the next thing would be personal channels probably be fine. I like that you mentioned anonymous content or faceless content. That's a big opportunity. It's worth taking notes on. There's channels called YouTube automation or faceless channels, which could be just your voiceover. We're tapping into a world where if you're good at just writing essays or using AI, you can have AI voiceovers, meets educational content, meets B-rolls, meets ChatGPT just launched this new AI-generated video thing. Like, the world's getting crazy. So to start a channel that, again, it's not personal advice, but that your company would never know about, and that isn't like, definitely is not competing, just kind of a side thing, that your face and your brand is not on, that seems like it's really low risk. But that would bring us to number 3, which would be, you have to just have a lot of honest self-awareness questions of where do you want to go next. And to me, it's like 3 options. Option number 1, go to your employer and say, hey, I love my job. Do you value me? I would love to be here. I'm all in, but I would love to do this. Could you make an exception? Could you change my RCA? Could we do something? Then respectfully, they say no. And then you go, okay, so then I won't do it. Or you decide, you know what? My vision and what I ultimately want to build means that this won't take me there. And sometimes, depending on what your personal vision is, the definition of entrepreneur, when you look it up online, includes, it's one who starts a business with uncommon levels of risk, often financial risk. The word risk is in the word. So there's always going to be that tension. And I think for, again, a lot of us, negotiate with your employer, talk to them, see if there's a way to do it while you're there. then look, basically assess your options and then lay them out on paper even. Option one, actually they said it's cool. I'm going to start the side thing. They said, whatever. You always should negotiate with your employer. Could I work from home? Could I work less? Could I get a raise? Could I get this? They can always say no. They might say yes. Could I do this thing on the side? Could I shift my career? Could I take a pay cut and have this freedom? Maybe security with a pay cut, but freedom is what it is. Like, you're looking for the cocktail that you would prefer most, basically. And then, finally, if above all of that, maybe while you're chipping away at some things on the side, there is a jump off point where you're just like, ultimately, I do have to, in order to have freedom. And as an employer myself, we're having some of these conversations with our team in terms of non-compete. What do you do while you're working here? Not all employers are like this. They can get like weird, controlling. You even have a conversation, you might be afraid. They're like, as soon as I start the conversation, then I know. Right. So you have to navigate all those politics and stuff. But our thing is just like, listen, obviously we have to do we have to think about what's best in our whole company's interest. But here's 1, 2, and 3. We're having that conversation with somebody right now. And if you're here, these are going to be kind of the guardrails and whatnot, but let's negotiate. That's the conversation I'm having. If that doesn't work for you, then being somewhere else. No harm, no foul. Like, you probably should be free to have that freedom, but there's always going to be, a lot of times you can't have your cake and eat it too. The security, all the liability of your employer, like I can see it from their vantage point. And, but that's also the upsides and the rewards of what could be waiting for you on the other side of maybe doing something like this. So has that been helpful in terms of?
Yes, thank you very much.
I appreciate you.
Awesome.
I'm a little shorter, so. Hey, Sean, so I'm Michael Manaskanian. I have been thinking that I want to make content for a long time now. When I started my real estate investing journey in 2018, kind of done it all from buy and hold real estate investing, wholesaling, flipping, whatever, all that stuff. And I've gotten to this point, and one of my biggest regrets is not creating content sooner. And I know, talking to Ryan Pineda and some of the people yesterday, who cares, just like start creating that content. But for me, as an overthinker, I'm very analytical, engineering minded, which is good and bad in real estate investing, but it hasn't hindered me too much. For the content side, I'm also not much of a consumer of like social media or content. So for me, it's hard to even, I don't even know like where to start sometimes. Like like I said, I'm kind of doing everything. I buy and hold, flipping, I do creative finance, lending, I use other people's money, I do it like a lot of it, and I don't even know how to like develop an actionable plan of like, what should I start creating on? I did start doing recording when people ask me questions about, there's this one thing about creative finance and VA loans, and I answer the same question like 4 times in 1 month. And I said, all right, screw this. I'm just gonna record it and post it. And it's got hundreds of views, which is great because hundreds of conversations I didn't have to have that was able to help people out at the same time. But like, I just don't know how to define my like path or blueprint, my content plan for like, how am I going to start producing, or what am I going to produce, or what am I going to focus on? And I think that holds me back a lot, is the uncertainty of knowing what I should create, what's next, not overthinking the sequence. Like, do you have any suggestions or recommendations for what to look at? Maybe it's your book, but like what to look into to start developing that plan and then just following that blueprint, essentially.
When did you start real estate investing?
2018.
And so you've been doing real estate investing for 5 years?
I started in 2018. I was consuming and learning. 2020, bought my first house hack. Now, 2024, 44 rentals, and then dozens of flips.
Great.
Dozens of wholesales and some flips.
Great job. And now you have wisdom you can share on that.
Yes. So I definitely want to go back as well. I want to go back and share that journey because I don't want to leave it in the past.
So looking back, when you started, though, in 2018, are you telling me that you had a perfect map and absolute clarity of exactly where you would be in every single step, all laid out, and that was all clear to you in 2018?
No. I was just learning whatever I could from Bigger Pockets and underwriting deals, even though I had no money to buy them.
And you also then kind of like, you probably started before you're ready.
Yes. Kind of. My first deal was a house hack. But yeah, my first deal was a house hack, and I knew there was like almost no way I wouldn't make money on it. So
I just want to encourage you, the 5-year transformation you've been through, this next 5 years of content creation is going to look a lot similar. I'm so proud of you that you've already started and you've already got a couple hundred views and you've got 1 million questions, but I want to encourage you, you already have the blueprint, and that is you started watching Bigger Pockets, now subscribe to Think Media. Yeah, and start just watching everything. But also just, you can't steer a parked car. But you already know that. So without having the full plan, the fact that you're posting content gives you the opportunity to experiment, to kind of refine your voice, to not have total clarity, but to just be learning and experiencing that personal growth and that skill development and that transformation. And by year 2 and year 3, and imagine year 5 on the other side of learning and doing, then you can figure this out as well. And so the template becomes the same. The shortcut is always mentorship and always finding somebody who is doing what it is you want to do and shortcutting your learning curve from them. You know, who has already achieved this and how can I find out everything that they know? And there's a lot of great people and we have, again, tons of resources, to your point, the book. But I would encourage you to just not stop and to just keep going, keep posting content, because that a lot of people never press record in the first place. And that really is kind of the gateway. Pressing record without fierce clarity. It's the story of every entrepreneur. We sometimes, even if we think we have fierce clarity, if there's any success after 3 years or 5 years, how many times have we pivoted our plan? 1,000. So just getting moving and then being committed to continuing to learn, you're going to figure this thing out.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for all the awesome content you put out. A lot of free stuff, helping a lot of people. Really quickly, with this asset of attention being more and more and more valuable, like you talked about every year, but harder to get. So if somebody has like a really small platform on a shorter form content, say Instagram, and they're trying to drive that traffic to YouTube where they really feel like they can help a lot more people, how do you capture somebody's attention and move them from one platform to another?
It's a good question. How do you move attention from one platform to another? I honestly believe the best answer is you don't. You grow each platform according to the platform itself and best practices on that platform. Because also, just the idea that somebody would want to move from Instagram to YouTube is an assumption that is more false than it is true. The reason I go to these platforms is for different reasons. Maybe to check in with my friends, quick scroll. I have a limited amount of time. I log into Instagram. Well, it used to be to see friends. Now it's to see ads. But I, log in, scroll through, watch some videos. And I'm sure all of us at one point, somebody we love has maybe said, I have a new deeper dive YouTube video. And so we go watch it. But we study all the math. The percentage of moving someone from one platform to another is always something like 1%. If it's 4%, that's like incredible. Wow. So if you have thousands of followers even on Instagram, they follow you there, and the way to add value, think about what is you want to happen. Do you want leads? You want sales? You want monetization? What do you want? Do it on Instagram. Even though I'm the YouTube guy, I wrote YouTube Secrets. I help people with YouTube. We've course coach on video, but I was having a conversation upstairs with somebody who's biggest on Instagram right now and wanting to get into YouTube and saying, how do I like really maximize both? And I'm like, well, that's going to be kind of tough because it's really, both are tough. Like if you've got team, if you've got systems, if you've got some money, we're on multiple, we actually post 300 pieces of content a week. Does that make you nervous? But I mean, that's team, systems, things being multiplied. So I do think, I feel like Dr. Phil said it best. He said, God only gave you one ass, so pick a horse and ride it.
Copy, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, hi, Sean. I talked to you briefly upstairs. So I actually found you on YouTube, went through your training, been to your live event, all through just
Thank you.
YouTube, right? And so even before this. So YouTube works. So I've done really well on, and I've been through your courses, on answering specific questions for my YouTube channel. Like, and my average ticket price is pretty good. So I can crush it there. The problem is that it's not generating more of a following because I'm just answering specific questions. I recently started another channel. It's kind of more of an interview podcast format, more collaborative. And I'm wondering if that's, or if I just keep it in one channel. And what would be your thought process behind that?
Well, you want to keep everything on the same channel if all the content is designed for the same audience. Is it?
It's a little different, but it's similar but different. So that's like I wanted to do the new channel more interview format and not just like try to rank. Like I can rank videos super easy. Like,
Yeah.
And it's like the easiest
But
thing.
here's what I mean. The channel is much more about caring about the viewer and who is subscribing and why they subscribed. And sometimes people say, should I do shorts on a separate channel or the interviews on a separate channel? Well, if the promise of the channel is I'm going to help you learn real estate, and this is a big clarity point, you shouldn't mix B2B real estate with B2C, because consumers that want to buy or sell a home don't want to learn how to be agents. Or if they do, that is somewhere else, because that's two totally different psychologies. So that's actually a question of psychology, and giving people different formats. Videos that answer quick questions in 8 minutes, great. Hour-long conversation, maybe they don't click on it, but they're not offended because at least it's why they subscribed. So you never want to upload videos your subscribers didn't subscribe for. So you want to understand what it is the channel is about. That'd be thing one. I think then thing two is inside of we have a program called Video Ranking Academy.
I own it.
Which you're in. And so answer specific questions is one of the 16 things that we've now put inside of VRA Masters. So all 16 things are formats, but they all would serve the same psychology. And so as we land the plane, it would be, you could answer specific questions, but if you want boosts of growth, my biggest encouragement is experiment with different formats. For example, trend surfing. You know Graham Stephan?
Yes.
What does he do? He does trend surfing. The Fed does something. A lot of what Michael Zuber does is a lot to do with trend surfing, just because it's now news. You have trend surfing, influence surfing. He'll do the same. He'll talk about, Patrick Bet-David recently said that. So whether that's people, whether that's events, answer specific questions, review specific products. For real estate, that might be this type of lending product versus that lending product.
I do business financing and I help people buy businesses. So like
it's great.
My common thing is ranking videos like how to buy a boutique hotel with SBA 504 financing, right? And I'll rank and I get people.
It makes total sense and attracts your ideal customer.
Yeah.
But then if you, so while doing that, my one piece of advice would be to get the big reach, tap into trend surfing, which could look something like a video that Dan Martell did, who's a SaaS investor guy, killing it, wrote Buy Back Your Time. But he did a video on like 4 things every billionaires always do. And then in the thumbnail, he put Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, and Elon, and he put the logos above their head. And that would be trend surfing and influence surfing, and maybe tapping into kind of a video essay or a different kind of content. And the goal is not to rank. The goal is actually to go viral. It's the kind of content that just might attract. Now, you'd want to reverse engineer that to what you're doing. Because those niche rank videos, I'm so proud of you, because those get the ideal customer, but those aren't going to go viral. Right. Those are just going to bring a steady stream of leads. So what we're talking about is kind of developing a diverse tool belt. You've got a screwdriver for some things, a hammer for some things, and power tools over here. Some of those power tools are trend surfing, influence surfing, and tapping into content formats that are spreading across YouTube, which then heavily lift your brand awareness and then bring a portion of those viewers into your world for business.
What about like, you obviously probably know who Cody Sanchez is, right? Born Businesses. That's kind of the audience I want to go after. Can you give me an actionable tip to implement?
Well, then, the actionable tip is this: broad appeal. So title your video again of such and such financing just for me.
How to buy a boring business with SBA 7A financing.
Yeah, so that's not broad appeal. SBA 7A, that's not. But look at every single one of Cody Sanchez's titles. Almost all of them say how to get rich. Like how to get rich, how to make million. Look at a lot of Alex Hormozy's titles and stuff. Like, so I think when you assess and reverse engineer what certain people are doing, and they do hit both though. If you look at their libraries, there's different niche things they do, but also broad appeal. And that's what I meant when Dan Martell goes, 4 things every billionaire does. It's a mystery that entrepreneurs, wantrepreneurs, side hustlers, people from all different backgrounds, and they don't know you, but they recognize these individuals. Cody Sanchez is doing a lot of business breakdowns. She breaks down other businesses. She's, even though at 1 million subscribers, leveraging trend surfing and influence surfing. So I think part of your strategy being broad appeal is the mindset to really leverage.
You just opened up my mind. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
So, real quick. So, a lot of you follow the channel, see when I'm in the Vegas house, right? If you look behind my right shoulder, you remember you see these black, they're coffee beans? You guys remember that on the shelf? That's a shout out to this guy. It says Rise and Grind. Was lucky enough to go to his 40th birthday party. That will be on the shelf for a long, long time, so I appreciate you. But now we have a gift from Run One Till at a Time. It is a championship belt. Wow. That's the idea. Got to be unique, baby. Got to be something you can put on the wall. Thank you very much, Sean. All right.